Welcome to MLB Network Presents. Tonight we bring you the story of Billy Beane. No, not the Moneyball mastermind of the Oakland A's. That Billy Beane spells his name B-E-A-N-E. This Billy Beane is B-E-A-N. And he was an outfielder in the 80s and 90s with the Tigers, the Dodgers, and the Padres. All of that would be a footnote, but for the fact that along with the late Glenn Burke, Billy Beane is one of only 2 Major League ball players, past or present, who has ever come out publicly as gay. That was a secret Billy Beane kept during his entire Major League career. A secret he kept from his teammates, his closest friends, even his family. A secret that to this day, Beane regrets keeping, but one that helped shape and guide his post-baseball career. Billy Beane finally went public 16 years ago, and since then, his story has taken a turn he couldn't possibly have foreseen.
I see one of my old coaches I played for 30 years ago. It's still hard for me to be the only gay man in a room with a bunch of baseball people.
He was an all-American kid. He just was.
All my life, all I ever wanted to do was make my dad proud of me. I got married right out of college, and I found myself, I was in the big leagues at 22 years old.
Deep drive, right center field, Billy Beane, grand slam.
He was a really good player. Could hit, had power, had great speed.
And as an outfielder, he was amazing.
That is gonna be caught by Billy Beane. What a sensational catch.
But you just sensed there was some tension or darkness that he was carrying around.
He seemed annoyed sometimes and a little bit maybe angry, and I never could put my finger on it.
I was playing for the Padres and hiding somebody, pretending they didn't exist in my life, and it wasn't easy.
I think Billy became very good at segregating 2 distinct parts of his life.
Caught by Billy Beane.
And I think he, at times, in the locker room and on the field, was acting.
We were raised in a very tough, strict Catholic environment. There was nowhere to go.
Maybe somehow I gave the false impression that something like that would bother me.
One of the great regrets of my life is not trusting this sport to be supportive.
We were very close. It kind of pains me now to think about kind of what he was going through.
Accidentally, my story came out. And I never planned on coming out. I certainly didn't want to be famous for being gay.
But that's exactly what happened to me. Looking back, it's funny how simply it all started for me growing up in Santa Ana, California.
I always felt that he was going to do something great in his life. I didn't really think it was going to be baseball, but he was well-liked. He was a happy child.
My childhood, I think it's defined right away by just being raised by a single mom. My stepfather, Ed, is my dad. He came into my life probably around the age of 8 or 9. He had 3 kids, and overnight I went from, only child to being the oldest of 6 kids. My stepfather had a military background in the Marine Corps, and he became a police officer, and I wanted to please him more out of fear, I think, than devotion.
Being the oldest child in the family, I put the onus on him to be the role model. And I asked him to, basically lead his brothers and sisters by example.
As I got better in sports, he became a coach, and it really fast-forwarded our bonding.
He was 8 or 9 years old, and he was sitting at the dinner table, and he announced to Linda and I and his brothers and sister that he knew what he wanted to be.
He said, "I'm going to be a Major League Baseball player."
And we all said, yeah, that's really nice. You want to pass the peas now? But that conversation and that thought never left his mind.
And then Billy just excelled every step of the way in baseball.
He was one of the fastest kids on the team. and he had a quick bat and probably one of the better arms. I taught him how to play the outfield.
Herschel said, "Billy, we're going to put you in center field." I put my head down and I thought I was a bad player because he put me in the outfield.
He didn't want to play it. I took him to a baseball game, an Angel game, when Fred Lynn was playing for Boston, and that changed his mind.
I thought from that day on, I'm going to be just like that guy.
I loved baseball as a kid, but it wasn't the only sport I was interested in. I played football and basketball. In fact, in junior high, I even made it to the state finals of a free throw championship in San Francisco. On that trip, I accidentally saw something for the first time that I couldn't quite understand, but never forgot.
We were driving the streets of San Francisco in between the hoop shoot contest.
And I remember we stopped at a light, and my first memory of anything that happened about gay was I saw two men on a bus stop holding hands.
I do remember him saying something as he's looking out the window of the car about two men holding hands. I don't remember what he said, but it caught his attention. It was something he wasn't used to seeing.
I wasn't sure what it meant, but I was fascinated by it.
Even though I still remember that moment, it didn't really cause me to question my sexuality as a kid. Like most other boys, my childhood was consumed with sports and girls.
He dated, he was very good looking, he was very popular. He had always had a large circle of people around him.
I absolutely felt attracted to girls. I thought I was a straight kid, you know, looked to get married, and I used to brag about, you know, when I get married, I'm going to stay married forever.
My life at that time was great. I helped lead my Santa Ana High School baseball team to a state championship at Dodger Stadium. I was the quarterback of the football team, played varsity basketball, and I was class valedictorian.
He had kind of a storied childhood. Everything that could possibly happen to you happened to him.
He seemed charmed. It just seemed like his life couldn't get any better.